Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Edgy Live stream. We are here Wednesday night. Congratulations. It is the first day of IHSA football practices around the state of Illinois. Yes, never thought it would happen. But here we are. We are live and very excited to have everyone with us and join us tonight. And again, we are hoping to get joined up with our friend Coach Joe here in a few minutes. I have not seen him yet, but in the meantime, let's bring in our guest for the evening. We'll just go out there now. You know him, you love him. He is our man at the bottom of the screen, Dewey. We can finally identify you. The green hat and the blue, or the green sweaty in the Cub hat. The one, the only Dave Dwyer. Dewey, good evening.
Ready to roll.
And the gentleman in the other corner, the better looking of the two in the corners, longtime friend of mine, at this point, he should be wearing the Steelman outfit, honestly. He is Mr. Joliet Central. He's the one and only Tony Juarez, head coach of the Joliet Central Steelmen. And my friend, it is great to have you on board, and congratulations. And it's kind of like the Mafia, Tony. You keep getting out, and they just keep bringing you back in.
That was the first slide I had when we had our coaches meeting. That was exactly the slide I had on there. It's like every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. So it's a pleasure. I'm glad I got another chance. I didn't think that 2000, I believe it was 6, was the last time I stepped away from a head football job, and I never thought there was gonna be another 14 years, 15 years before I get another opportunity to go ahead and do it. So love the opportunity that I've been given over here at Joliet Central. It's going to be for this one season, just to be as a link to get us to our next head coach we're going to hopefully hire by the next school board meeting. But it's definitely been something that's been fun for me, and hopefully the coaches are learning something about putting together a program, and then again, hopefully our kids are going to go ahead and be able to get some enjoyment out of us doing something a little bit different this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, welcome, Joe Rodeghero.
Hey, the grandkids, Edge. I just lost track of time.
Always blame those damn grandkids for keeping you back. I know.
I got to blame somebody.
Yeah, no doubt. It's all right. That'll be taken out of your check next week. We'll handle that.
That's right. I forgot to punch in.
Tony, first day of practice. How did things go? And after all this we've been through, it had to feel good to maybe get some type of. I know the timing's weird. But boy, just to get back into some kind of routine had to feel pretty good, I would imagine.
It was great. Ever since Sunday, I was sleeping, and I've been getting some really good sleep at night, trying to get a good schedule of when to go to bed and wake up and find a nice routine of this remote learning as we're going through. But I got to Sunday, and I kept waking up in the middle of the night, and it's like, you don't have football Monday, it's got football Wednesday. Monday night was the same thing. Tuesday night was the same thing. I was edgy to go ahead and jump on the field, and it was fun. Haven't had a chance to get on the field with our kids since we finished up fall camp. Really haven't had a chance to see any of our kids because we've been remote this time, so we've got no weight room usage. Other than seeing them on a Zoom meeting, you really didn't get a chance to see anybody. So last Monday was the first time I got an in-person meeting with our kids when we handed out gear. But it was fun on the field. I mean, our numbers are struggling right now. We're hoping that we'll still get a couple more over these next couple of weeks. But unfortunately, even when in summer camp, our numbers were a little bit low. Fall camp, our numbers were a little bit low. Talking to some of the other sports, their numbers are not as high as they've been in the past. So I'm hoping we can somehow be able to sneak a couple more people here and there to give some of our kids a chance when they step on the field. But we'll coach who's there. And whether it's one level, whether it's 2 levels, I know we're not going to have a freshman team, but we got some nice freshmen that showed up today, and hopefully we can get back into that 25, 26 number that we had this summer and in the fall. We lost some to eligibility, but the ones that are there are working hard. And today was fun to get out there. Coach Joe made the joke on it. It was like today we're starting to lose our voice, so we're getting back in that mode of we got to coach. We got to talk like coaches today. We can't just talk on a Zoom anymore. So it was fun.
Dewey?
Tony, obviously you've been around a long time, seen many great events on the baseball field, in the historic gymnasium. When I knew we were going to have you on, one of my most fondest memories was the last time you guys I believe, played a football game against Joliet West a year and a half ago, November, with the snow falling down and everything. What an atmosphere that day, and what a facility you guys have in downtown.
They've done a great job, and when they made the stadium out there, and they were able. We always talked about having a stadium. Being a Joliet Central graduate, that was just a practice field for us. The baseball field played on there, but it was a practice field, and we used to call it our stadium, but it was a practice field. And when they finally just broke ground and put stands up in there, I was like, hey, this is pretty nice. And then we started playing games. We got the turf, and it was like, this is nice. But finally, that game with the Joliet Central and Joliet West, we got off to a great start in the first half, and then that snow, sleet started coming in there, and it started coming in sideways. Our call sheets were flying all over the place, and it was kind of like, what just happened over here? And I was like, it was the first time we ended up beating West since we've been in the split programs. So there were a lot of great things happening for us. It was the last game of the year. It was a very special moment for our kids to put it all together in that one day.
Joe?
Tone, well, hello, Tone. I know I didn't get a chance to say hello to you when we started this out. And yes, I was there too. And I tell you, I mentioned it to Dewey at halftime. You guys went into the little locker room that you guys have to get out of that snow. Joliet West went into the bleachers, and I turned to Dewey. I said, this game's over. I said, Joliet West is staying out in the snow. It's over. Joliet Central's inside getting a little warm whatsoever. My question, Tone, is, we've all known you a long time. I've done battle with you on the baseball field. I think you're a tremendous coach. And as Dewey said, you've been around a long time, a graduate of JT, and proud of that, and being a Steelman. And we've asked the other coaches, in your mind, that have been at Joliet Central, in your mind, what is it going to take to basically turn this thing around?
I think it goes back to what Coach Max said, Coach McLaughlin, when when he was here, and we'd go ahead and talk about what do we need to have. And he said, really what it's going to start on here is we're going to need a class that comes in with about 9 or 10 athletes, kind of like when we had with Joliet Township. When we first combined as Joliet Township, we had a core of players that were on that football team that made the playoffs the first 2 years, that played basketball, that were on the team that went down, lost in the quarterfinals in the first year down. Then we were undefeated, and then went down the second year and took fourth. The baseball team that we had over there had a lot of those guys that were in there. We need a group of kids that come in as freshmen and stay together and work, and we go ahead and find some cohesiveness that's going to start with. Because we've tried different coaches and different mentalities of coaching. We've had different athletic directors come in there, but it still comes down to, yes, if we have an athletic director who puts it all together for us, and we have a coaching staff that can coach the kids we have, but it still comes down to the players on the field. So if we can go ahead and somehow, through our youth programs, and again, with the youth football programs, again, going back to Joliet Township, when Bill Winkie helped start the Joliet Titans, that was designed to help hopefully feed into Joliet, the township, and the football program itself. And then now you've got all the other youth programs here in Joliet, so it kind of splinters. You really don't have a true feeder program. But trying to go ahead and do it with camps, do it with the park district, somehow get a chorus of players that we know are going to come to Joliet Central, develop a coaching staff that's going to be here for the long run and not just be here to go ahead and get some experience and then leave and go someplace. And same thing with an athletic director who believes in what we're trying to go ahead and do and supports what we're trying to go ahead and do and is fighting for us the way we fight for our teachers in our chemistry classroom, like I'm sitting in right now, but also fight for us as a coach. When all those things come together, it'll start the process for us. And maybe we steal, I know it sounds bad, one or two kids that would go to Joliet Catholic or go to Providence Catholic. But Coach Max said it's going to be difficult when we're going to have, if we're going to lose 2 or 3 players that kind of are fringe, don't really have the legacy to go to a Providence or to go to a Joliet Catholic, but we don't get them, we're going to always be in that bind. We got to get a way to somehow start getting those kids that, we know we're not going to get a kid who's a second, third, fourth generation Providence Catholic, Joliet Catholic kid. That's never going to happen. But if you've got a kid who did go to Joliet Township, Joliet West, Joliet Central, and or grandkid of somebody who went to Joliet East, and they send their kid to Joliet Central, Joliet West, that is a good athlete, good student, then we've got a chance to go ahead and do on there. But it's so many pieces. I mean, people always think there's got to be one thing, and unfortunately, it's not.
No.
I mean, it's going to need multiple things to happen for us. You know, a perfect storm, and then if we can do that for a couple years, then maybe it'll go ahead and sustain itself.
A couple of years back, when Coach Boyder was running the program, Tony, and you were an assistant under him, and was that the 3-win year, I believe, a couple 3-4 years back?
Correct.
I mean, Joe, I remember sitting in the studio with you on a Thursday and Dewey talking to you over the phone. I think we all came away with the feeling that, man, you were you could sense there was some momentum in that program, you know, more than just a win here or there, but your kids really bought in. And, you know, was it just a one class kind of deal with that group, and then you just had a drop off talent wise? Because it sure seemed like you had a little bit of momentum going then.
We thought we turned the corner at that point. It was a group, the JoJo McNair group that came through. Yep. He was up on the varsity as a sophomore. So he was a 3-year starter. We had another 3 or 4 guys that were 3-year starters. We had the Wisniewski. Zach was a 4-year varsity quarterback for us. So we had a lot of guys that had played together for 2 full years before they got to that season. So we found a way to go ahead and win games. Where when we played the Romeoville game at the end, it was just a shootout. We just had to score more than they were going to. We just couldn't stop them. We were able to go ahead and do it. But when we played Plainfield Central, we were able to play it from a defensive perspective. We were able to go ahead and slow them down and score enough points that we had to go ahead and do. But and then the Joliet West game, the same thing on there, trying to have all those things go in. I really thought we were going in the right direction. I thought our staff, we did lose a couple coaches here and there, but the staff was working together. We thought we had the right pieces from that perspective. And unfortunately, just the next group of kids that came through, they just weren't as talented, and they just weren't as hard mentally as that group is. Joe McNair would cut your throat to win. We always talk about the line from Michael Jordan. He'd step on your throat to go ahead and win. Those were the kind of guys we had. They hated to lose. We had competitions in practice all the time, and they hated when they were on the defense, and we were, of course, being the offensive coordinator at the time, I'd load up the offense and we'd win, and they would get mad because they weren't able to go ahead and figure out a way to go ahead and win. So those guys really bought into what we were trying to go ahead and do, and it just, unfortunately, it just didn't carry over for the next couple of years. And then we lost Brett, and then we lost Fred, and now we're still searching for a head coach. I know they've already had the interviews. I'm not sure if they've done the final and looking for a decision at this point. Hopefully, March board meeting, they're going to have a coach that's going to be in place at that point, but he's going to have to come in and set the tone right off the bat when we go into June. Fingers crossed that everything goes back to normal. Of what are we going to do in the weight room? What are we going to do for fall camp? We're going to go back to doing 7-on-7s, or we're going to do the big butt competition. What are we going to do to put ourselves in a position so that we can not just have a 3-win season and say that's our high, but maybe figure out a way to get that 4th. And then if you're lucky enough to figure out a way to get that 5th, and now you're in the playoffs as you go.
I don't know. You sound pretty fired up for an old guy there, Tony. I don't know. Maybe, I think there's some more juice in that racehorse left. I don't know. This 4 more year stuff. I don't know about that, pal.
I joke to our coaches all the time and to our players when we're even in practice. It's like, there's no way in this world the short, fat guy should have more energy than you guys. I've been here a lot longer than you guys, and I'm still moving around more. I'm still talking more than you guys. We can go ahead and get this thing taken care of. And it's a little different because I'm not a rah-rah type guy, but when I get going, I'm gonna get going. I mean, I love to coach. I love to work with kids. I love to sit down and talk to coaches of how do you guys do this and successful with it. But here's what we're doing. Do you have any suggestions for what we're trying to go ahead and do? and just sitting back and listening at clinics and stuff like that. I mean, I still did the IHSA clinics that they had for the Football Coaches Association and watched 4 hours of clinics for 6 days. And people were like, other coaches on there, like, you watched everything. I was like, I was on there all the time. I was getting my notes because there's something that we can go ahead and use. And it might be just a 2-second blurb that showed up in there. Maybe it's the entire hour, but there's something we can use because what can we do to help our kids get better? What can I do to help you as an assistant coach get better? And that's really where I'm at right now in my life. And I'm happy where I'm at. And like the guy kid was saying, I'm a lifer here at Joliet Central. I got 1 year and 3 months left in the classroom, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to continue coaching. Hopefully they're going to still want me to coach in football and baseball. And if not, I mean, I'll find some place to keep myself active.
Oh, I think someone would be able to squeeze you into their staff. I'm pretty confident. You have been a lifer at Joliet Central. Did you? And I know over the years, and whether you'd admit it or not, I know that you probably had some opportunities to maybe look and go elsewhere. What kept you there all these years? Is it just being from there?
I think it is. I mean, in all honesty, I tell my kids in class, we have one of our first days of school, I do a presentation for them, and I go ahead and tell them that I was a junior in high school. I'm sitting in Mr. Leach's English class, and it's in the end of May where school's almost out, and he says, we have one more assignment we have to do. I want you to write down a 1, a 5, and a 10-year plan. And of course, the 1-year plan was I'm going to graduate from Joliet Central. I'm going to go to Southwest Texas State University. And of course, that happened. My 5-year plan that I said at that point was I'm going to graduate from from Southwest Texas State University, and I'm going to be a teacher over at Joliet Central. And that happened within the 5-year period. The 10-year period was I'm going to go ahead and get married. I'm going to start my family, and I'm going to go ahead and be a head coach at Joliet Township Central in football, is what was my initial thought it was going to be. And it actually took me 12 years before I became a head coach. But it's always been my thing to go ahead and come back. And I really think what really the impetus to make me stay is when I got my first teaching job. Leroy Leslie called me into the office, and my interview went just like this. I know you want to coach and teacher over at Joliet Central. We're going to give you a teaching job. You're going to coach 2 sports for me because I need somebody who looks like you so my students can see they can be more than just a janitor, more than just a person who works in our cafeteria. I need somebody they can look up to and say it's okay to get an education and be a professional in what you're doing. Not saying the other things are wrong, but he just wanted our kids to go ahead and strive further. And I think that kind of stuck with me that I got a responsibility to, if I'm going to be here at Joliet Central, again, I've always wanted to be here, but I've got a responsibility to our people of color to go ahead and hopefully bring them along and give them something. But now it's just for all of our students. It doesn't make a difference what color you are, what gender you are. We're still talking about what are you doing in college? What can we do to help you go to college? Now that you're in college, what are you hoping to do with the job afterwards? How's the family going? It's great talking to kids 10 years out of high school, 15 years out of high school, and they come up there and say, Mr. Juarez, I had you in my chemistry class, or I got their kids in my class. And their kids are in there. It's like, man, you got to be old. You had my mom or my dad in class going through it. And I'm like, I was one of my first couple of years that I was teaching. Then they tell me, and it's like, no, it was like year 15. And now I've got these kids coming through here. So, no, I'm the one that's getting on the far edge of the spectrum over here with teaching now.
Joe?
Well, you are, in my opinion, if they had the Mount Rushmore Joliet Central, you would definitely be your face would be on there. And I've always respected what you've done. I've always respected your coaching ability, and just listening this tonight, your teaching ability, and you. I know you've always been a great communicator with the kids, because as a head coach coaching against you and other coaches, I look at how they react to their kids, and when things aren't going well, or when things are, and you seem to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen you get upset a few times, but I'm a little bit less than mild manner, but you would always teach, no matter if it sounds like in the classroom or on the baseball field. You always tried to teach those kids life's lessons, whether they won or whether they lost, and to carry something on beyond that athletic field. And that's what I most admire about you.
Well, I appreciate it, Joe. I remember Dick Goss, it talked about that. He was like, we were playing one of the first couple of years. I was a head coach of Joliet Township in football, and it wasn't going, I think it was the first year, and it wasn't going well. We were getting beat pretty bad. And he goes, and I still saw you in the third and fourth quarter on a knee in front of your kids. You weren't yelling, you were just teaching. Here's what they're doing. Here's what we have to go ahead and do. Here's what I want you to go ahead and try this next time. I know it hasn't worked the first thing we were doing, so here's plan B. Here's plan C. And I didn't really think about it, but till he said that, then I would start to go back and like, yeah, I really do. I try to keep my composure. I don't want my kids to see me lose control, because then it's free reign for them to lose control, and I need them to play in control. So I try to go ahead and keep my emotions in there. And like you said, there's going to be some times you're going to go ahead and lose it a little bit, but it still comes back to, we still can teach everything, whether it's a good or a bad thing that happened. It's still a teachable moment for us. And if it's something that can help our players become better men, become better fathers, become better coaches, husbands, and later on in life, then I know I've done my job. And I won't know that initially, and maybe I never will know how many people really did go ahead and do that, but it's still something I look forward to. And even if it's just the one kid every couple of years who comes up and wants to have that serious conversation, then I know I reached them, and it's all worth it.
And you know as good as I do that coaching, we're the two old guys of these four guys that coach, and we know our coaching philosophies and how we coached 30 some odd years ago. This is my 45th year teaching. 45 years ago compared to today, we've had to change overall. Like I always said to my former players, even as freshmen and sophomores, if I did the things I did to you guys today, I'd be in jail right now.
Absolutely.
You have to change with the times.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's hard. And I think that was one of the things that were kind of in the middle of my career. It was difficult for me because I was like, I know this works, and this is going to work, and it's worked before, and it's going to continue to work. And it's really come, and really probably in the last, and I'll be honest, I think it was Brett Boyder. When Brett Boyder became the head coach, and me sitting down in his meetings and him talking about the different books that he was reading and the different programs he was trying to bring into our staff, of how do we build a better staff? How do we build a better community? I think the reality is that's when I started doing more thinking about myself and saying, well, am I really doing what's best for the team? Or is it just because I've always done it this way, I'm going to keep doing it? Now, in the classroom, I've always changed. I've always tried to go ahead and do that. But then in athletics, I started having to ask that serious question, is like, are you growing on the field also? Or are you just, this is how I am and this is what I'm going to do? Now, there's certain things that these are my core attributes, and this is what this is I'm going to hold people accountable to certain things and hold myself accountable. But easily, there's definitely different things that I've changed and I don't do that I used to go ahead and do. That, sometimes you're glad that there wasn't social media and all the phones that can come out from there, because I definitely wouldn't have lasted in coaching this long and teaching this long.
Dewey?
Tony, I'm gonna change gears a little bit. Walking in the gym, doing a basketball game, I'd be at half court on one side with the mic, you'd be across with the mic. And when I coached at Joliet Junior College, the amount of quality kids we had, and I'm going to forget some, but the Randy Tuckers, the Ty Calderwoods, the Dwayne Edmonds, the Joel Houses, Kevin Robb. I remember Kevin Robb when he came there. Kevin became so good for us. Those guys and I still talk to this day. Kevin Robb reached out to me probably 4 or 5 years ago and said, I never told you this, but you made such a difference, not just for me playing basketball, but in life, because you believed in me. And just the quality of kids that come out of there, unbelievable.
And we do. I know we get a knock. Central has always gotten a knock in the past. Joliet and Hull gets a knock. But we got a lot of kids that do a lot of good things, and it's gone for a long time. And unfortunately, we don't go ahead and hear enough about their stories. And I'm glad that you brought up some of those names. Those are some great names that came through at the Joliet Central program, the Joliet Township program, and the stuff that you guys have done. When Dave Bernhard used to go ahead and be around here and do doing the games for football and for baseball and basketball, putting them on TV. Kids loved it. they'd go ahead and watch. As soon as the game was over, they'd go home and watch the tape delay of it, or watch it on the Sunday when it was being played again. The interviews they used to go ahead and do with that from a coach's perspective. They used to love sitting and watching that stuff and then watching other coaches go ahead and get their thing and be honored when I was asked to be part of that. Can you come on in? I was like, absolutely. What do I have to go ahead and do? What time do you need me there? Because I thought it was just a great thing that was being done. So like I said, when we talk about with Dick Goss and stuff, everybody who's been in the media that's taken care of us at Joliet Central and Joliet Township and have always tried to make sure that the right story came out. Not all the bad stuff you hear, not the stuff you hear in the paper, but the really good kids, the great men that have come out of here, and as well as the women that have come out of here. But in that basketball program, we've had some players, the football program, the baseball program. We could go ahead and sit down for hours and just start rattling off names. You're like, oh, I remember this guy, and I remember this guy, and I can tell you a story about him. And it's sometimes coaches are always coming in there like, hey, you're still talking, coach. I mean, like, I got it, but I got more stories I can go ahead and tell you. And it's fun when somebody asks that I get to go ahead and talk about our kids and our coaches that we've had here over at Joliet Central.
One more point, Edge. The other night, and this is at West, but you guys are all tied together. It just crushed me that Jeremy Fears Jr. was there, and obviously he wasn't here because we didn't think basketball was going to happen, and Trenton Howland playing football because that team, if everything was normal, had a legitimate shot to make it to state this year.
Oh, absolutely.
If Trenton didn't have surgery, he would have been on that court because believe me, I talked to Trenton last night before that game, and that's just killing him. It's killing him. It's going to kill him for football this spring too because he's still rehabbing after having an off-season surgery. But yeah, go ahead, Tony. But I know
they were so fun to watch last year, playing them twice. And again, we didn't beat them either time, but just watching how good that team was and watching Jeremy Krieger, another one of our former players over here at Joliet Township, who played for me in the football program as well as in the basketball program, was just fun to watch and see how good they were. And then it got taken away once they got to, I think it was the second round of regionals when they finally made the call. We're going to shut down sports at that point. But it would have been nice to see how far they were. And he even said, he goes, we're still a year or two away. We still have probably a better team coming back next year. And then, of course, again, with the COVID situation, I mean, Jeremy's got to look out for himself, and you don't want to sit a year when you could be playing somewhere. So Jeremy's got to look out for his son, and he took him over and went to play someplace else. And again, the injury to Trent makes it a little bit difficult. But I think he's going to be okay at Indiana, and I think that Jeremy's going to be fine over at Joliet West in these next couple of years when they get into a normal routine again. So. But I love a lot of the things that Joliet West does. I mean, Coach Leck over in the football program, he coached with me in baseball, and I coached with him in the football program with Coach Winkie when we first Joliet Township. So I've known Bill since the late 1990s as we're going through. And like I said, Jeremy was one of our players before, so it's fun to see those guys that are having some success over there. And I hope they win all their games except when they play Joliet Central. Other than that, I hope they run the table against everybody else.
Well, we expect nothing but you to say that. I mean, that's it by now. We totally get that. Well, we wanted to have you for an interview, and it turned out to be a retirement banquet for Tony Juarez. Hey, whatever direction you guys want to take it, it's all good. No, hey, great stuff, my friend, my old neighbor. Since these guys were heaping praise on you, when I think about you, I think about your family. And when I moved to that neighborhood, I didn't know you. You didn't know me. I was just some weird white dude, a couple houses down, and just how open and welcoming your family was, and just I remember like the Sunday parties, the birthday parties you guys would have in the back. And by the way, guys, the food spectacular. You never went hungry at the Juarez's, believe me. And then you talk about how you take pride in getting kids and the way they develop. And Tony, the older I get, I look back and I go, you know what, man, I am so lucky I had the parents I had that put values into me and taught me that, hey, you're no better, no different than anyone else. and just the values and everything that I learned, I got from them. And I know you're the same way with your family and your parents as well.
Absolutely. My mom and dad did a great job with my two sisters and myself and the other family that we would take in when there was any issues or help out whenever they could do stuff. My mom and dad did a ton of stuff for the Hispanic community in the 60s, 70s, and in the 80s, and the national level and the state level. So they left a real high bar for us kids to try to go ahead and reach. And I still try to go ahead and say, what would my mom and dad, would they be proud of what I'm doing right now, or do I need to do more with what I'm doing with my life? So I think they'd be happy with where I'm at right now, but I'm still not done. I still have more things I want to get done. My youngest son just told me a month ago I had to keep it a secret that they're expecting their first child. So I'll have my second grandchild hopefully by the end of August. And so things are going well right now. So I mean, like I said, I can't complain. I know our numbers are a little bit down, but hey, we'll still coach. We'll still be there on a Friday night or a Saturday night. We're still going to compete, and we'll give our opponents the best Joliet Central team we can throw out there for them.
All right, everyone. Well, week 1, Joliet Central hosting West Aurora. The remainder of the schedule at Plainfield South, at Romeoville versus Joliet West. That'll be always an interesting ball game. Dewey, you might be working that Saturday. Joe, same with you. I'll probably be there as well. Then, of course, we have at Plainfield Central, and then closing the season, the 6-game season, hosting Plainfield East. Tony, you're the best, man. Wish you nothing but luck. Stay healthy, and we'll see you down the road a little bit, okay?
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate everything you guys do. So it's fun talking to you guys again. Take care of yourself. I know you're going to catch a lot of we only got 6 ball games, so I know you're going to be all over the place trying to pick up as many games as you can. So enjoy the time, and hopefully next year we get a normal 9-week season, state playoffs, and you guys can go ahead and get back into the normal run of things you guys do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck, my friend. Good luck.
I appreciate it. Take care of yourself, guys.
All right. Tony Juarez dropping off, and we appreciate it, guys. And like Joe, like I said at the beginning, when you were late coming in.
Late slip.
I mean, he should be wearing the Steelman costume. I mean, he is literally Mr. Steelman and has been. And there's a guy that just, again, he's been there his entire career. And, his family, I remember when his dad was still with us, and, his mom and his dad would go to, you'd see him at every Joliet Central game that Tony was coaching, whether it was baseball, football, whatever. Just huge family that supported that school. And here he is again, guys, like the mafia. They drag him back in, and he's here holding up the ship until someone new comes in. So we wish him the best of luck. But, yeah, it's going to be tough this year, guys. He said numbers are down, and it's got to be hard to keep a team together and motivate and stay on the same page during a year-plus long pandemic.
And especially, they're not back in school yet. I mean, I think they're going to go in March 8th or 9th.
Yeah, they said next week. I think they're going to attempt to go hybrid.
Yeah, so it's been a tougher than normal situation for him and the coaching staff and the coaching staffs in general at Joliet Township, at West and Central. So you don't get the kids in the weight room and whatever. Probably the first time, as he said, when they passed out gear when they were on the field today, field today they started. So. It is a very tough task. And it's hard to get kids out when you can't see them. I mean, I don't care what you say. If you don't see kids in the hallway, you can't talk to them.
Dewey?
I completely agree. That's the first thing popped into my head, the fact that they haven't been in school, and it's just going to be a unique situation. There's one of many throughout the state of Illinois that's going to happen with this 6-game schedule in the middle of basketball and then right into baseball.
You can put your piece back in, Dewey.
We'll let you. We'll let you.
I'm getting excited because I got a trivia question for Coach Joe.
Here we go.
All right. Well,
where's Bart?
Let's go for it. All right, Joe. No pressure.
All right, Joe.
Yes.
What do Mike Trout and Jake Arrieta have in common?
Well, they both played for Joe Madden.
There you go.
I have no clue. That's the only.
That's probably not it, but
this is reality statistic. Here you go. Both have one career postseason home run.
Only Dewey would know that, I think.
Okay. Thanks, Dew.
Sure.
All right.
We can talk about my Illini for the next 25 minutes if you want.
Oh, boy.
I just
There's
remember.
stock up.
I see you have your Saluki stuff on tonight, big boy.
I wonder why, Joe.
I wonder why myself.
Wonder why. A little earlier, I did have the fight song all queued up. I was going to play it for you, but we got a little busy with Tony Juarez. No, my Salukis, huge win Saturday. Snapped the 39-game win streak in North Dakota State. 3-time FCS national champs. They go down to the Salukis in Carbondale. So huge win. Dewey, I remember calling you very early in the college basketball season and saying, the Illini team's going to be pretty good.
No, I know, and it took a while. I was not happy early on, Missouri and some other games. Very impressed last night without Io. Now we'll see what happens because I think he'll be out of protocol for Saturday at Ohio State. But I don't see how at this point they're not a number 1 seed.
Right. Do you even need to bring him back, or you just wait until the tournament?
I think it's a good test against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Are they having a Big Ten tournament, Dewey?
I believe in Indianapolis.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Both men and women. Yes.
And then Nancy, and I'm glad you brought that up. Is it just me, or is this just weird with the NCAA tournament? I'm just not following it like I usually do. Is that just me, Dewey?
I think it's getting better. I mean, talking with people, everybody's starting to get geared up. It's kind of interesting lately. You know, Kansas is making a run. Duke a little bit of a run. Kentucky a little bit of a run. They were all on the outside. Now they right around the last 4 in, last 4 out. I think this Indianapolis thing can be kind of cool. They're letting 25% capacity in. So we'll see. It's still exciting. It's getting to play. It's going to be in front of some fans. So I think it's taken longer to get warmed up, but I think it will.
Yeah, I just because usually by now I would have given you a half dozen mid-majors to watch out for, and I haven't. I don't know if it's the TV coverage or what, but that and the fact that I'm doing other things, but
look at Loyola.
Yeah.
I
mean, they've had a great year. Won the Valley tournaments this weekend, I believe. Yeah, it's something that usually I'd be all over. I'm just not this year. I don't know why. And then even today, guys, with the first day of kickoff, I mean, I've been asked, "Oh, Joe, you're on the roller coaster."
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm thrilled for the kids. I'm thrilled for the coaches. Everyone's like, "Oh, you got to be going nuts," and I'm like, well, "Yeah, I am, but it's still different." I don't know what it is, Joe. It's just different.
It's not the fall.
The timing, I think.
It's the spring, and it's wedged in, like Dewey said, between basketball and baseball, and it's never been like that ever. And it's just the timing of the whole thing, and you didn't know if you were going to have a season or not.
Yeah.
And again, it's like we've talked a lot of the coaches over the last 6 weeks or so, what they wanted to get out of it and things like that. I just think they want to make sure guys stay healthy. They try to play as many guys as they can and see what they want to win. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's almost, we've never had spring football in Illinois. Well, we're having it now, but
yeah,
it's completely different. Even on the baseball side, I mean, we can't really start till April 5th. It's the month of March usually went pretty fast for me. Now it's going to slow down because we can't start till April 5th, but we're going to be able to do football games. So it'll go a little bit faster, but right now we'd be practicing baseball, getting ready to go down to Edwardsville in a couple of weeks, but that ain't going to happen this year. But it's just, I think all the sports, excuse me, is going to be different because of the fact of the situation that we're in and the timing. And it's just going to be off a little bit.
Has there been talk about you getting a longer season yet or no?
No. Matter of fact, the ending before, again, the regional or sectional, whatever they have, you have to be done with your season by June 2nd. So I know we had some games scheduled, conference games in June, right after Memorial Day and in the first week in June. Those 4 games had to be switched to sometime in May. So I said something to Jared the other day. We're playing 33 games or so in 40 days or something like that. I mean, that you never have that. I mean, that's totally ridiculous. But you want to play. And again, as a coach, I rather play than practice anyway. So,
Yeah.
But it is just going to be different.
I mean, most high schools, where do you find the arms?
Exactly. That's why I think you're going to see bigger rosters at all levels. You're not going to really. Again, I don't know what Jared's plan is going to be. I know we've talked a little bit, but as far as you're going to try to keep as many guys as you can, especially pitchers, because you're going to need them. It's not like you got the farm team in Schaumburg, that you can pick guys out of. I mean, you need the guys right there with you to practice and everything like that. So you're going to have to be careful with your arms too. I know some of the major pitchers of the team, the better pitchers that have been pitching, they've been traveling and stuff like that. But you got to be careful of, in general, the pitchers and overall, as far as you got a week before your first game, they give you 7 days. I know we got contact days coming up, and we're going to probably start in the middle of March sometime, but you're only allowed so many days, and you got to make sure those pitchers are ready.
Dewey, you got less than 2 weeks left in the high school basketball season. How weird is that?
Yeah, I've said all along, guys, when we've been talking about this, I knock on wood for the injury factor with kids playing all these sports and the shorter prep windows and this and that. I'm happy they're having an opportunity to play. I just wish this would have been planned out a little more. Maybe basketball could have had a shootout Saturday or some kind of something extra, and football have some kind of playoff that was talked about. Joe, the one thing I'm happy about for baseball is there is a playoff system in place. And yeah, you could be worn out when you get there and everything else with all these games and all these days, but at least you're going to have an end result.
So far, I just heard, unless something is different, it's going to be like a regional and sectional, and that's it. I don't know if there's going to be a state series or not. So it's almost like that carrot's right in front of the horse, and you just can't quite get there, whether you win or lose or whatever. But it's going to be satisfying to play baseball, but in my opinion, kind of unsatisfied that there's no end to it. I mean, only one team can win a state championship, but you don't have that prize at the end. But
at least you got a carrot.
Well, not quite. Yeah, a little bit, but
yeah.
Because talking about basketball, again, a team that I haven't seen play, but I talked to the head coach a lot. Our team at Lamont is really, really doing well this year. It would have been nice to see them try to go on. They probably would have been, a top 4 seed in any regional this year because they're doing so well. They got a really good team. I haven't seen them play live, but seen a little bit on tape. But that's a team, and I'm sure there's other teams out there in this area that we really don't know about much.
Yeah.
They're just playing basketball, and the coverage is as good as it can be. But still, it's not. You just see a score, and you don't see anything else, and it's just hard to get into it for me. Because you like to see kids' names in a little bit more, but that's how the times are.
Well, and that we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, Joe.
Right.
I don't see that changing. Certainly not for this abbreviated season.
Oh,
I don't see. And again, we know guys. Jeff DeGraw, strings obviously been a stringer a while for the Herald. I'm not sure what his situation is. What the Herald's going to do as far as bringing in more guys to string, and it's more than the Herald. It's a lot of the other papers as well. I mean,
right.
Daily Herald is down to a handful of writers where they were probably staffed more for preps than anyone. And it's just not, you're just not going to see the kind of coverage. And, it's, we'll see what happens. Maybe they ramp up for the fall, hopefully. I know that, my coverage is still the same. I know there's some others out there. I know JOL, we're talking about doing 6 games at least for football, if not for more. So we'll have that. I know we'll have a Thursday night show every Thursday, Joe, for 6 weeks or so. I know that's going to happen, but outside of that, and we don't know. One thing that's really interesting, guys, and Dewey, I know you're going out there probably every day looking for a schedule on IHSA for football season. I'm hearing the odds are you might not get one.
Yeah.
I don't know if IHSA is going to list actually the full football schedule because of the fact that, well, number one, there's no playoff involved, and number two, You know, I don't know what their staffing situation is over at IHSA right now, but I'm sure that's a lot of man hours and work to put all that together. So everybody's just kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what the schedules are. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going week 1, just because today's the first day I've been able to look at a kind of a master statewide schedule to figure it out. And the funny part about it, guys, is the one thing I have seen that'll be interesting, and Dewey, this is going back to what you've been talking about for a while. There's a lot of Saturday games. There's a lot of interesting times as well. I talked to Bobby Moynihan, the head coach up at Harlem, up in the Nick 10, up in the Rockford area. A lot of those are grass. A lot of grass teams up there. Now, Harlem plays on turf. Coach was telling me they've rented out their stadium. I mean, their stadium is going to be going like probably 7 days a week in the spring because of the fact that they have turf. I know the NUIC, which is that powerhouse 1A, 2A conference up in that area, they're all playing their games. Most of them are, almost everyone's playing their game away from home because they're all grass. So a lot of those games are going to be like double and triple headers at Freeport and some of the other Rockford public schools that have turf. So it's going to be an interesting 6 weeks. The one thing I found out, which I thought was kind of exciting, up in the Rockford area, the Nick 10 has been a locked conference for a long time. So you never know what they have every year. They're in a locked conference. They come out in the playoffs, and some years they're good, and some years they just get annihilated early. What they've done for this 6-week season is they split up the Nick 10 into 2. So they have, I think, what they would consider 4 conference games, and the other 2 are crossovers. But I think what the coaches, and Coach Moynihan mentioned this and some others, is I think they're kind of hoping this goes relatively well. They might look at this from here on out. We're taking that conference, splitting it up, giving them a couple crossovers and a couple non-conference games, which I think would be huge for that conference in a lot of different ways. And they agree. And to me, that's exciting that they're taking this spring and trying to do some different things, and you know, and playing around with it and having some fun, which I wish more would have done, honestly. Okay, well, good night, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening and watching.
Well, no, I do agree with that, and it seemed like the teams around here are just playing within their own conference, and that's a good idea. And again, like you said, Eds, that conference up there is locked, and as you said, we don't know how good they really are or how bad they really are, and when it gets to the playoffs, we find out. Here around here, you know, I mean, we usually do a Joliet Catholic St. Rita game right off the bat, or Lincoln Way East and Stevenson. I know one year played the first game of the year over at Lincoln Way East, and
On the roof?
Always plays really good.
On the roof, Joe?
No more roofs for Coach Ron. No more roofs. I've got a little handicap with my right knee. I know it's in good shape. I don't. No more roofs, please. Especially in the cold now.
Okay, geez, come on.
But what is
we'll wrap you up.
Baseball today. It was so nice outside today. I was ready for baseball. It's 50 degrees outside.
It was nice today. Oh, by the way, guys, I thought I'd share with you, the holiday season has finally come to an end here at the Edgy Tim household.
Finally got your lights down?
Finally got my lights down today. So, and trust me, I have thought about leaving them up one more day just to turn them on to celebrate the first day of football practice, but it was too nice. I had to get them down.
Yeah.
Ed, speaking of football, we got to talk about Coach Galladay.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered that. Saw that on Twitter today. Dewey, your guy, Coach Galladay from Cahokia, unfortunately passed. And what a great guy. As Dewey, you had a nice experience with him. I had a couple of nice run-ins with him as well. And again, just larger than life personality in him, no doubt.
So this is about 10, 11 years ago. Joliet Catholic draws them in the playoffs down there. So Bart and I go down, stopped at the Ponderosa, had a nice meal on the way.
Ponderosa.
Wow.
Arrive there, grass field in the backdrop of the East St. Louis airport.
in the arch.
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Coach Galladay's there. First one, see. Walk in. He's got the construction helmet on.
Always.
And I kind of knew the story about the construction helmet, and I walked up to him, introduced myself. He goes, appreciate you coming, this and that. I said, the helmet. He goes, yep, helmet. I'm working. The boys are working. I'm at work every day. I got my hard helmet on. I want my boys to do the same thing. And just a great guy. Couldn't have been any nicer to us. And one of those road trips I'll never forget. And it was because of him.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's again, you've got those stories, and I've got a ton of those stories as well of places you're kind of going into. You don't really know anybody. You're not sure how things are going to go. And all of a sudden people bend over backwards for you. And it makes it that much better. It makes it a great experience. And on the flip side, you're going to do the same thing if they ever come up this way. And Joe, you know that from the coaching side, that's where you build up relationships, and you really build your reputation as a program too. When, you're able to, show some hospitality and you treat people the right way, it goes a long way.
Right. I remember at Joliet Catholic, about 8 or 9 years ago, we hosted a few teams from the Peoria area, and they always, liked coming up and playing on our field. And you build relationship. And then I didn't make the trips down there, but a couple times the baseball team went down there to play them. And I know last year, because of the cold, we couldn't do it, but we were going to go down to Morton and play 2 or 3 games down there again. But of course we could not do that. But you are absolutely correct. When you show hospitality to people, especially the out of town people, they really appreciate it, and they welcome that. And they always remember that, because that's what you want out of your program, a class program, not only on the field, but off the field.
No doubt. Joe LaPointe watching tonight, obviously with the SIU logo, enjoying the swag I'm wearing tonight. And Joe, this is old swag. I got the new swag too, but
Okay.
I'm throwing it back to the old school. And again, Joe's son, I believe, is still down at SIU playing for the Salukis. And yeah, just an incredible win for Nick Hill and for that program. And, it was a good day Saturday. My phone blowing up Saturday. Even my brother, the ISU alum, calling me and saying, wow, what a great win. So there we go. There we go, boys.
That game wasn't even close.
Can't hear you. The Fight Sox playing.
I'll let it play out.
No, that's okay. We'll
the only highlight they showed was right before halftime, the Hail Mary that they.
Yeah.
The game wasn't even close.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy because a week before they got trounced at North Dakota. So, but North Dakota's really good. So it's a crazy year for FCS for sure. And that's a terrific conference. So as far as the next few weeks are concerned, I know on the website, I got a lot of stuff coming. I've got a handful of conference previews already in the bag, so I'll start putting those out. I continue to do video interviews. I think I'm over 20 now of head coaches. Talked to Troy McAllister. That was an interesting one. So later this week, go look at my video interview with Troy McAllister from Phillips. We get into been a rough year at Phillips, guys. Mike Larson passed away, unfortunately. So you had that to deal with. Just between the city really being on lockdown. You think we're on lockdown out here? They were really on lockdown in the public league. So just kind of filling us in on how things have gone and the story there. And so it's some interesting things for sure. What's interesting is, first of all, the public league is going to play a 5-game schedule, not a 6-game schedule. So they're going to start a week after everyone else on the 19th. Strictly conference games. So Phillips is not playing Simeon. They're not playing, all these public league powers, which would have been crossover games for them. So it's interesting. So it's they're fighting just to get their kids back and to get them involved.
Right.
And it's a lot. And I give those guys in the city so much credit because they've they've been up against it in a lot of different ways, and they're still trying to fight to get their programs to hang on and, get through the spring and hopefully, like we all keep saying, have a normal fall whenever that rolls around. So
what's the latest with capacity? Because I saw some things today in the last couple days.
Yeah, there's a movement. Everyone's trying to get them off this 50 people or less. It sounds like something's going to happen. There's been discussions I'm hearing, Department of Public Health and some others. Well, what started this, Dewey, was the FCS schools, because last week they all had home games. Eastern, Western, Southern, Illinois State all had home games. They were all allowed 2,500 capacity, obviously social distancing and what have you. But okay, well, if you're making an exception for those schools and they have the ability to host 2,500 considerably, there's quite a few 8A, 7A schools that could probably go 500 maybe and do it relatively comfortably. And I mean, look at a school like Bolingbrook, guys. How many fans do you think they could fit in there under the criteria? Probably 1,000, I would think.
Well, just like the stadium. I mean,
right.
I mean, they could.
Right. Bigger capacity places. I mean, and the reason I think of Bolingbrook, and obviously the Joliet Memorial, but Bolingbrook is the way Bolingbrook's bleachers go from sideline to sideline on both sides.
Both sides, yes.
So that's ideal for social distancing and being able to find the protocol. So, Dewey, I don't know what it's going to happen, but I know that that they're going to continue to dive into that, and hopefully we find out more soon. Will you still do this show in WJOL or just the radio show?
Yeah, there we go.
That's a great question, Joe. That is something we have kind of thrown around a little bit. What I'm hoping to do is to be able to bring this format type of show into the WJOL show, so we make everybody happy. I see Dewey smiling already. Dewey already doubting the ability to pull that off.
He's smiling.
He's smiling. So that's my goal. I hope, Joe. Sometimes you get accomplished. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it rains.
That's right. That's right. Never mess up a winning streak.
Nope. Joe, we haven't won a game yet in spring training. Are we concerned?
No, you know why? Because we're playing hockey rules. That time.
No, it's so dumb.
And I talked to you yesterday on the telephone. I'm driving home, listening to the game on the radio. Sox have bases loaded with 2 outs. Hosea Bray's coming up the bat, and all of a sudden the inning's over. I'm going, what are they? And the fans are just absolutely booing to death because I guess and I found out later that night watching the game last night that there was a 20 pitch limit. I guess they agree with something. So once the pitcher got to 20, inning over. I'm going, oh gosh.
If I paid for the ticket, I'd be pissed.
Oh yeah. I think that's why people are.
I don't know if they have that. No in Major League Baseball. I'm sure they had to pay to get those tickets to get in.
Of course. Yeah.
Stupid. Oh well. Good. Yeah, so the holidays are over here. It's a little sad, but
snowman melt, lights are down, you're all set.
Yep, we're all set. All right. Well, where are we at here? Where am I at on the clock? Now one more. Hey, John. Nope.
Locked up.
Huh?
You're kind of locked up there, kid.
Yeah.
Did your Cubs win or tie today, Dewey? I saw it was 8-8. Today. It's only spring training though, too, Edge, as far as the Sox are concerned.
Oh yeah.
I know.
I don't really consider that because teams that do real well in spring training wind up in the basement during the regular season. So
yep. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to shut it down again for Dave Dwyer, for Joe Rodeghero, Tim. Thanks to Tony Juarez from Joliet Central for joining us. I really enjoyed that talk. We'll be back next week. Until then, we'll figure something out, what we're going to do once March 18th rolls around. I don't know. Stay tuned. Same bad channel. Maybe. Maybe not.
We do it on the fly every week. You know that.
Maybe it'll rain. I don't know. All right. Good night, Dewey. Good night, Joe.
Good night, Ed. See you, Dewey. See you Saturday.
See you, boy.